We're going to have a whole podcast on duct tape, just so people know. We're going to have a duct tape cast. Actually, I would love to see if I could get duct taped onto this wall.
That would be fun.
Hello and welcome to On the Go with Joe. I'm Joe Scianablo. I'm a United States Marine combat veteran, a retired New York City police officer, as well as a former prosecutor from the Queens District Attorney's Office. And I'm also running to be the next supervisor of the Town of Hempstead, America's largest township. We have a lot to get into this week. Coming up, we're going to be speaking with Joylette Williams. She has recently been reelected to the Hempstead School Board, and she's also a professor at Nassau Community College. During our conversation, we're going to be talking about the roles of leadership within the town of Hempstead. I get asked a lot, what is a town supervisor? What does a town supervisor even do? Moreover, what does the board members do? What are their responsibilities? What does the county clerk do? We're going to get into that this episode. As always, you can get in touch with us at Joe for Town of Hempstead on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. You could also email us at joe@joefortownofhempstead.com. That's joe@joefortownofhempstead.com. If calling and texting is your thing, as it is mine, you could reach us at 484-RING-JOE. That's 484-746-4563. Last week, we formally requested the state comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, to conduct an audit of the town of Hempstead's finances, both operationally and financially, for multiple reasons. The first reason is we know because of the town of Hempstead themselves admitting that they failed to comply with the financial statements that are required for the 2024 audit. So that's number one. We have the proof of that, and they're just out of compliance. Number two is, look, as a resident and a taxpayer of the town of Hempstead, we just all received over a 12% tax increase. We didn't get any notice about it. There was no board meetings about it. There was no flyer sent home about it. We were just hit with it without any prior notice. And then a year later, the supervisor of the town of Hempstead is telling us, don't worry, we're going to reduce your taxes by 18%, right? An election year. In an election year, the supervisor of the town of Hempstead comes out and says, don't worry, we're reducing your taxes by 18%. I was at the town board meeting during his announcement of this. Purely political, in my opinion, but more importantly, he had no answers for the people. The people are asking questions. Where is this money coming from? How are you reducing our taxes? The answer is simple. It's the same practice from the past, the bad practices from the past. They're taking money out of the reserve fund, out of the emergency reserve fund, and they're putting it into a general fund. Now, the levy remains the same. It's still flat. They're playing a shell game with your money, and it's built on shifting sand. And that is dangerous, and it's a misrepresentation from the supervisor of America's largest township because there is really no tax savings. I don't think it's a coincidence that it came about during an election year. But what I do think is that the residents and taxpayers of the town of Hempstead should be demanding answers. We should knowing where every dime of our money is going. And that's not what's happening in the town of Hempstead. And that's why we're formally requesting the state comptroller, Tom DiNapoli, to conduct an independent financial and operational audit of the town's finances. In that, we're including the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter, where there's been staffing issues, budgeting issues, as well as the Town of Hempstead Animal Shelter has been essentially closed to the public, right? This is a publicly funded shelter for the residents and taxpayers of the town of Hempstead, but we're being excluded from it now. So there's so many serious concerns that have been raised to necessitate a full audit of the town's finances because this is not a political thing. This is not a Republican or Democrat thing. This is something that every taxpayer in the town of Hempstead should be concerned about. We're also requesting the state comptroller to audit the town's animal shelter. Look, there's so many people that come to the town board meetings and they come up and they speak during public comment. What I've noticed and what I've observed is that the supervisor will pick and choose what comments he wants to respond to. So residents come up during public comment and they ask questions to the leader of America's largest township, and they're left with blank stares. When it's a tough, difficult question, they choose to not answer it. But when it's something that they could be arrogant about because they know the answer to, and I'm going to just be honest with you, they attempt to make you feel stupid for even asking a question, that's when they choose to take a victory lap on a town resident, on a taxpayer of this town. What I'm saying is answer the tough questions. Don't take the low-hanging fruit. I know it's easier to remain silent, but your job is not to remain silent. Your job is to be accountable for the ongoings in the town. And that's what we're lacking right now. We're lacking that fundamental level of transparency. Forget about accountability. We're not going to get that. We're asking simply just for transparency within the town of Hempstead. That's where we need to start. Welcome back to On the Go with Joe. We're honored to have the pleasure of talking to a local leader and educator, Joylette Williams. She's a professor at Nassau Community College, a member of the Hempstead School Board, and former Hempstead Village trustee. Joylette is also involved in the NAACP, and she is a member of the new Greater Hempstead Chamber of Commerce. Did I leave anything out? Because I know there's so much more to you than even these accolades on paper right here.
I'm a staunch community advocate. I love the area that we live in, the region that we live in. I believe that there's a lot that can be done. I'm glad that you're in this role now and that you're working hard to support our communities, and I'm just really, really happy to be here with you today.
No, I appreciate it. Look, you and I have the same mission, right? We want to uplift our communities. We want to provide a better quality of life, mainly for some of the most marginalized among us, but for all of the residents within the town of Hempstead, and that's our goal, and that's what I appreciate about you. So thank you so much for being here. I think it's important we have Joylette on today, because I know for myself, as a community activist and one of the local leaders in town, I get the question all the time, what does the supervisor of the town of Hempstead even do? Like, what supervisor of the town of Hempstead, what is that? What does the board members do? What's the role of the clerk and the council members and the deputy supervisor? So I think in this episode, we're going to dive a little bit more into that. And we're going to go over the roles of the town supervisor, the board members, which each represent their own individual councilmatic district. I get asked a lot when I'm out, two things. What is a town supervisor? What does a town supervisor even do? And what is a town supervisor? Because most people are used to mayors and governors. And I have to explain to people, well, the town supervisor is kind of a cross between a mayor and a governor. And they're responsible for the day-to-day operations of the town and township. And for the town of Hempstead in particular, it's America's largest township, and there's so many different moving parts.
Joe, what do you think is the most important role of the supervisor?
Ooh, funny you should ask. So, first and foremost, I think it's important for people to know, absent party affiliation, I think the leader of especially America's largest township, the supervisor of the town of Hempstead, should be trustworthy, honest, and be accountable and fully transparent with the people. That is the floor. That is what everybody should expect when electing a leader. Absent any party affiliation, you need to trust the leaders that are in charge. But I mean, one of the most important roles that the town supervisor does play is proposing the annual budget and ensuring that the taxpayers' money is being spent wisely and responsibly. And that is so important for the people, and we have to show them where the money's going.
It's true, because these are quality of life issues. They're holistic quality of life issues. They need to be addressed with the constituents' needs in mind and with the day-to-day lives that they live and the decisions that they have to make, which are kitchen table issues.
You know, just thinking out loud, one of the most important things that a town supervisor does is come up with and propose the town's annual budget. And that's very important because that's our tax dollars, right? And that's where we're going to be spending the hard-earned money from all the residents and all the taxpayers in the town of Hempstead.
Wow. So that is for sure one of the biggest roles, especially since across the country we are, and we hear it all the time, facing an affordability crisis. So this issue with the budget is quite a big deal. Do you have any goals or any Anything you'd like to propose?
We do. We had a press conference earlier on, which we spoke about, in the beginning of the show. But look, I think it's just important that we understand the town supervisor's goal is to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money and oversee long-term financial projects and capital projects that benefit the town and improve the quality of life. So you have the town supervisor, and underneath the supervisor you have board members. And the town board, if you've ever been to a board meeting, you'll see the town supervisor, CEO, chief executive officer, and then 6 board members, which represent 6 councilmatic districts. So each one of them are responsible for their own constituency. So it's very important that we have these board members up there so they could advocate for the people that they're representing, because this is all about the people.
It is all about the people. And I would love to see a lot of improvement in the way that the council members represent their districts. And so I'm also wondering if you think that the board members are there to support the supervisor, or if they should be supporting their residents and their constituents.
Way to tee that up. I appreciate that, because look, right now we do have 6 council members that are on the board, but they are meant to represent their constituency. And I think what I've noticed and what many people have noticed is that the board just votes lockstep with each other. And I've been to the board meetings, and if you haven't, I implore you to go down there and be part of what's going on within the town of Hempstead. Be part of governing your town. But I've been to the town board meetings, and each vote will start off, reminds me of a scene out of Nemo, honestly. And I'm showing that I have a 6-year-old, but where, John Frey's, let's put up the vote, aye, and then all of a sudden, aye. And there's a great scene in Finding Nemo where you can see the seagulls just, aye. And that's what the town board does, or has been doing it. Look, don't take my word for it. Look at all the minutes from the town boards, and you'll see the list of ayes. And think about Finding Nemo when you're going through that, and you'll see like aye. So I think we have a lot of work to do, especially in regards to some of the councilmatic districts that haven't had the proper voice advocating for them. And that's what we look to highlight and expose, or continue to expose, not only on this podcast, but out when we're on the go, really on the go with Joe. When we're out in the communities, we're talking to people, and we're asking them, hey, what would you like to see different in government? And the number one thing has really been transparency. Like, I don't even know what our government's doing, right? And that's the key function of the town board, to make sure that government's being transparent and accountable to the people, for the people.
Well, it's concerning that transparency is such a priority. I would say that along with transparency, we have to educate the community into what the council should be doing, how they should be representing their constituents, what the constituents and the residents within the town of Hempstead should expect. And they, I have attended some of the meetings myself, and I notice and admire and appreciate that every now and then they're challenged. Quite often, in fact, they're challenged with the decisions they make, why they make them, and how from one village to another there's not consistency in providing what the residents need for every district. So in other words, what may work in one district doesn't work in another, and vice versa. And the residents really come and challenge the representation that they have, or the lack thereof. It's concerning.
Just want to stick with the topic of transparency. Is there anybody within the town hall that would be responsible for, let's say, the chief transparency officer of the town of Hempstead?
I would say that the town clerk is one of the officers, or primarily the individual who is responsible for the records and also the transparency of those records, the organization and orderly record keeping that needs to happen so that the town can run efficiently, so that both the supervisor and the council members can do the work that they need to do efficiently. And that work is really, really important.
I agree. Which, just talking out loud, like, the FOIL request. It sounds like something that's what the clerk does, right? Like that's one of the responsibilities for the town clerk.
Absolutely. And speaking of transparency, as it relates to FOIL requests, the clerk's responsibility is not to act at the behest of the supervisor. The town clerk should be representing the people and honoring the responsible, fairly requested information and disseminating that information in a way that is professional and in keeping with the information that should be available to the public upon request.
Did you do anything different with FOIL?
Absolutely. I would honor FOIL requests if I were the town clerk in ways that serve the residents based on responsible requests that have been made, regardless of whether the town supervisor approves of those requests or not.
Yeah.
And that is a reason why that is an elected position, town clerk, because the clerk serves at the behest of the residents, not at the behest of the town supervisor. And that's a large reason why we have the issues that we're having now with transparency.
You're an educator, and based on what you've observed, especially being a community leader, what grades would you give the supervisor, the town board members, and any other position in the town of Hempstead at this time, just out of curiosity?
Well, of course, so this is my wheelhouse, and I do assessment all day. I'm grading papers, I'm evaluating what my students do at the college. But in relation to the quality of work and professionalism that the board and the supervisor now has, I would say we're working with about a D.
So I know you referenced the chief transparency officer of the town too, the clerk's position. What would you give the current clerk if you had to give her a grade too?
Approximately a D minus.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, interesting.
It's very concerning to me, the lack of transparency that exists in the office, the way that the current town clerk has been a career politician. And she has learned the game, but the work itself has been lacking. And because of that, the residents of the town of Hempstead have not had the services that they need in the way that in ways that benefit their lives.
You gave the clerk position a D minus. What, if anything, would you do differently to at least get it up to a passing grade?
There's so much. I have so many plans that I would like to implement and that I would like to see implemented. And for that reason, I have decided that I am going to run for Town of Hempstead clerk, along with Joe Scianablo. And I think that we're going to bring good government back to the town and the villages that are represented in the town.
I'm so excited that you're sharing that news for the first time on The Go with Joe. I am looking forward to running with you to bring integrity back and accountability and transparency back to the town of Hempstead. So thank you so much for coming on The Go with Joe. It was a pleasure to have you here. I look forward to hitting the campaign trail with you. Honestly, we're going to be knocking doors. We're going to be talking to the people. That being said, to the people, look, if you're a small business owner out there or another local leader within a community, any resident of the town of Hempstead, we really want to make this On The Go with Joe. We'll come to you. We'll meet you where you're at, and we'll have an On The Go with Joe wherever you are. So please hit us up. Please reach out to us. We'd love to come to you and have an On The Go with Joe. Look, I just want to give a big shout out to Joylette Williams. I know great things are going to come from her. I'm excited to be out there on a campaign trail with her, and I'm sure we're going to have her back here soon on the podcast. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say I noticed that the snow is melting down here quite a lot, so I did drive 4 hours up to Oneonta, New York, to get some of that fresh powder, and I did end up going sledding, so let me know if you have any special sledding spots here on Long Island. I will tell you, and you can watch the video. I don't know if I should be pointing up or doing something like this, but watch the video. My sledding skills are highlighted up in some fresh powder up in Oneonta, New York. Stay tuned to On The Go with Joe.